Good evening, everyone. I want to start by saying, Wendi, we miss you. We love you. Get better soon, sis. How is everyone tonight? Thank you, Greg, for being on the show tonight. I just want to say something. I got your mail.
Oh, cool.
I was so surprised. That's my first collection ever. I will cherish this like so close to my heart.
May I
Thank you so
explain?
much.
May I
Thank you
explain?
so much.
On
I really,
on the watch party on Thursday nights, JC does box openings. And basically what he does is he opens cards and boxes, he charges you, but he also has a giveaway of an autographed item. Now, the week I did it, it was the Jan Stenerud place kicker, Hall of Fame Jan Stenerud place kicker, autographed football. Now, I didn't win the football, but the way he does it is you get a division, and any of the cards that he opens, you get from that division. Okay, so like I got Barry Sanders, you didn't get that one. Okay, I think I got one or two Jameer Gibbs. You didn't get that one either. But I got three Jordan Addisons. So you got a Jordan Addison.
I did.
And what I did was I'm not really big on collecting things anymore because I live in an apartment. Because when my dog passes away, we're not calling for it soon, but when it happens, she's 14. When she goes to the great party park in the sky, my wife and I are going to travel overseas again. So I'm trying to keep all my belongings as limited as possible. Things I can put in a suitcase. Now I can't do that entirely because I have to have furniture for the apartment, but I don't want a lot of collectibles. But I'm still keeping Jameer Gibbs. And so
I
I,
might
I
sneak
took
it.
the remaining cards and I split them evenly as I could, between Carla and the gentleman who started my podcast with me, Mace Riney. Now, I say started because he had to step away because he believed in what I believe in, family first. He had a family issue that he had to take care of. So I was more than happy. And Tip Major has been a tremendous replacement too. So that is why she got football cards is what she got.
Yes, thank you so much. I really
You,
appreciate that gesture. I really do. So, thank you, Greg, for being here tonight and for filling in for Wendy. We really appreciate that. Every single time we say, Greg, let's go on the show, you are ready for us, and we really appreciate that. I can't believe it. Can you believe it, guys? It's episode 13 tonight of the Game Changers. It feels like yesterday when Greg connected us for what I thought it was a one-time episode, and now it has become a show, and they've become my family. I want to take this opportunity to say thank you for the sports affiliation, along with JC, Iggy, and the whole group over at TSA. Sally, what can I say about you? Even though we've never met in person, the first time I spoke to you was at Rachel's Unwind with the Women of Fantasy Football. I said to myself, I have to ask her to be on our show. The way you were talking about your dog, Bernie, the passion in your voice about your journey, everything attracted me toward your story. And I wanted to learn more and more about you. As an educator myself, and I did start like you, by the way, I did start as a substitute teacher. I tend to concentrate on compassion, love, and respect, especially since we live in a world filled with hate. Miss Sally, how are you tonight?
I am very well. Thank you very much for having me on your show.
Thank you for coming tonight.
Hey, I have to interject because I promised to break a story tonight. Those that don't know, Sally currently lives in the great state of Ohio. And everybody that knows me knows I'm from that state up north. And for the last 3 years, our boys from the state up north, that school up north, have had their way with the Buccaneers. Oh, Buckeyes, Buccaneers, they both lose. Who cares? Anyway, there's this communication network that you may not, if you're not a dog owner, you don't know about it. But if you're a dog owner, there's the communicate Canine Underground Communication Network. It's a hidden network where dogs share stories. And I got to tell you, Sally, my dog Aichi told me that Bernie says he's secretly a Michigan fan because he likes winners.
Oh, is that right?
It
Wow.
is.
You know what Bernie told me?
What's that?
Bernie told me that Aichi thinks Woody Hayes is the greatest college coach of all time.
Well, you know what that means. We're going to be traveling overseas very soon because Aichi's going to meet her maker. That's just not allowed in my household. Sorry.
Sorry,
But Aichi's a girl, and girls sometimes stretch the truth a little bit. But anyway, I want to thank you for coming on, and I want to do one thing before we get too deep into this. You guys may not know it, but Sally's created some children's books, and they come in various formats: hardcover, paperback, Kindle version. It's very inexpensive, and they're really nicely illustrated. And so I purchased her set. She's got 6 books, and she's gonna get them autographed for me. And if you have little kids, Sally, what grade limit are these books designed for? What age group?
I would say anywhere from 2 to 3 years old, and they've been used in schools up through 6th grade. But really for reading, probably third or 4th grade would be the top limit.
Okay, so
But
if you want your child to read it, 3rd grade. But
um,
if you
I would
just
say
want to,
first graders can probably read it. Most 5th graders might think it's a little on the young side for them.
right. But my point is that Sally is going to get her illustrator and herself, and they're going to autograph each copy of mine. And I'm going to send those to relatives of mine in Michigan.
Oh, you didn't tell me that part.
No, I didn't. I did. I also didn't say go blue. I didn't tell you to put go blue on it. I think these kids might be a little too young to understand the nuance of the rivalry. But folks, you should check out her books. You can get them on Amazon. You can Google
Thank
them.
you.
But it's Bernie the One-Eyed Puppy, right?
Yes. Yes. And it is all about being kind, Greg. So, we're kind even to that team up north.
I tell you what, people may not understand this, but both Ohio State fans and Michigan fans, we respect each other more than we respect any other school in the nation. Screw Alabama. I like Ohio State.
Awesome. How about the
Okay.
Razorbacks? What do you think about them?
Who's that?
The Razorbacks.
I don't think about them
You
at
don't?
all.
I
At
love it.
all. It's sort of like Northwestern. I don't think about Northwestern either because, have the Razorbacks had a good team in the last 20 years?
No.
Okay. For guys,
So-
it's mostly about winning. It really is.
You're right.
Jamie is saying she's gonna check your books out. So we will talk more about the books, Miss Sally, at the end of the episode, and you will tell everyone where to find them, and they can hit you on Twitter as well.
Yes.
And we will tell them about your Twitter handle. Talking about all of this, charge him extra, Sally. Wendy is saying.
I actually paid extra.
He did.
voluntarily.
You did.
He did.
I agree. I agree on that. And Greg, when you get the books, you need to just take a picture and just promote
I
it
will.
everywhere. We would love to see that. We would love to see them. Miss Sally, who is Bernie and who is Shannara? We would love to know.
Well, let's start with Bernie. I had a dog that I had for a long time. His name was Miller, and he passed away when he was 16. And I said, no more dogs ever. And of course, that doesn't always last. So online, I found they advertised him as Bernie the One-Eyed Puppy. So I called Don, my husband, and I said, after you get off work, I want to go see this little puppy. But I said, if my heart's not in it, we're not going to get him. So, of course, we went and got him he was with the foster home. And the lady that had him started telling me how so many people had come to look at him, and then they would like really be rude. They would say yuck and ooh, and they didn't want him, and that who would want that? And that's gross. And so that kind of got the wheels turning in my mind about this isn't right, people. We have to do better. We have to do better. And so let's start with children. And yeah, we're different. He's different. He only has one eye, but he is so sweet and so nice. And I would have just missed out on my little best friend, if I had gone along with that.
You
So
will
at the
never
time,
know. You will never know unconditional love until you get a dog.
isn't that
I
the truth?
agree.
I mean, I've been married 46 years. I love my wife dearly. But there are days when I get angry with her, and there are days when more days when she gets angry with me. But I never get mad at my dog. Even when she makes a mistake, potties in the house or in the hallway. She's a dog, and if she's pottying, it's because I didn't take her out soon
True,
enough. It's
Susan.
always my fault.
Right. Well, then with Bernie, I've always been a writer. You had asked that, Carla, and ever since I was little, I've loved to write and write short stories and just kind of doodle around with journals and I thought I've got to write this book. And I was friends with an older woman, and she said, "Sally, the children need this story. They need this." And so I started working on it, and so we've just really had a lot of fun with telling Bernie's story. When we tell it to children and we get to the part in the book where people are saying ooh and yuck, and the little children, they just light up, their little faces light up, and they'll raise their hands and say, I want Bernie. Bernie can come to my house. And they get it because of him being a puppy, so we get to talk about kindness. And then you
Well,
asked about Shannara. So she goes by Shauna. Her
Yes.
full name is Shannara, but she goes by Shauna. And Shauna lives about 15 minutes from me, but I didn't know her until we started working on this project together. And for at least 2 or 3 years, I was looking for an illustrator. And I would go to work every day and say, oh, I've got to find an illustrator for this book. I need someone to illustrate. And after all this time of listening, my friend who worked at the desk next to mine said, I know the perfect person. And it was Shauna. And we met at a Panera and talked things over. And I mean, we just click. She knows what I need. There's Shauna and Bernie and me. That's an awesome picture. I love that. We go to a reading group about once a year, and this is a Saturday reading club, and the kids there know Bernie and love him, and it's one of his favorite places to go because he knows he's going to get to see all his little friends.
He's a big puppy. Look at that.
He's fluffy there for sure. He looks huge.
He does.
He does look really big there. But Shauna is the magic to the Bernie series. Shauna just brings all the magic. Her paintings are just exactly how I hope that they will be. And she paints things that it's kind of maybe eerie in a way. She painted the
Thank
fences.
you.
She painted the fence in the books, and then she came to my house and looked out the back door, and of course that's what your fence looks like because I painted it.
That's
I've
amazing.
got to ask you because I'm very curious about things. Um, you and Shauna, you mentioned in your bio does watercolors. and I assume she works with oils as well. But when she does a panel for the book, does she do that in watercolor and then it gets reproduced into the book?
Yes.
How does that work?
Yes, she does the watercolors, and then we take them to a local, it's actually a camera store, but they run like a real high quality copy of it. But our last book, Bernie Picks a Pumpkin, she did things differently, and she did use a computer program to fill in some of the sketches.
Well,
So we're kind of progressing too.
does she
But,
save the watercolors or does she sell the watercolors? I mean, I would think that would be a collectible to get a watercolor panel.
well, I have the watercolors from the first 4 books, I think.
Wow.
And so we do have those watercolors, and that's something I've been thinking of is making selling prints of some of
Oh
those because
yeah,
they
and
are
keep the originals, of
fantastic.
course.
Yes.
Do you frame
Brave
them or do
print.
you put them into like a book type thing?
Right now they are not framed, but my plan is to eventually frame all of them.
Mm.
And I do want to do the prints of them.
Carla?
That's amazing. So, would you say Bernie was your muse, or someone else was your muse? You did
I would
mention something in your story.
Yeah, I would say that Bernie sparked the idea of, hey, we need to do something to help children. And that was our goal all along was if we can make life better for one child, maybe keep someone from saying something they mean to someone else. But Warren Moon definitely was a big part of getting me to start writing. And that goes back, I think it was 7 years ago. So Bob Lung, the master of the Fantasy Football Expo,
Bob's our
what
guest this week, by the way,
is he
on
really?
my show. Yes,
Oh,
Thursday night.
we're huge fans of Bob Lung, but he put on a fantasy football experience. It was called a weekend experience. And so Dawn and I went to that, and Warren Moon was there. And at lunch, he was sitting by himself. And I told Dawn, I said, I'm just going to go over and say hi to him. And so I went over and asked, if it was okay if I said hi. And he said it was. Ended up, I sat there for 30 minutes at least with him. And I was able to ask him questions about, what made him persevere. He is something. He didn't give up. He just
Yeah,
kept trying.
he had to start in the Canadian Football League
He did.
because there was this belief that black quarterbacks weren't intelligent enough. They were athletic, but they weren't intelligent enough. I got to tell you, Warren Moon is one of the most intelligent players that's ever played the position of quarterback.
Absolutely. He is. And that just I don't even have the words. How can that even happen? How can that
Idiocy,
even how could that have
Right.
happened to him? But
idiocy, prejudice. Yeah. But
he
look what
just
he did after he got into the NFL. And I think he had like 5 years in the CFL before he got to the NFL.
I think you're right. Yeah. So I wanted to know what is that drive? What makes someone, not give up? And so it was just so nice to sit there and talk to him. And he told me a story. He told me, he kept on. He had told his mom he was going to take care of her. And so he just wasn't going to give up. He knew he could do it. And so he asked me what I like to do. And I said, well, I really want to be a writer. And he said, then do it. Start today. Start writing today. And I did. Dawn and I have a blog,
Yes.
and we started that, and it's just one thing led to another.
And
Right?
what's your blog name? Do you want
It's
to share that?
a fantasy football couple and .com. And it's a mixture. We haven't been doing so great on it. Every day we're like, we need to write more. We started off writing very regularly, and then life kind of got in the way of that. But we wanted it to be a mix of Dawn is just gung-ho fantasy football and it's all really serious. And then I was like, but I might want to put recipes or I want to Right.
You can do that by taking the recipes that you make for Football Sunday.
We did that. We did
Okay.
that.
Right.
Just tie it together. That's all. Or
Yeah.
Thursday night. I mean, you're going to eat Thursday night when you watch the game.
Oh, you know what? I think we eat 7 days a week.
So do I.
Yeah. We don't get
Hey,
it.
let me ask you. I saw that you were in the Scott Fish Bowl. I retired for 5 years. I mean, I didn't watch any NFL at all. Still watched college football.
Uh-huh.
But I knew that if I watched the NFL, I'd want to do fantasy. So I just cut it off from the end of 2015 to 2021. And when I got back, there was this thing called the Scott Fish Bowl, which I'd never heard of. I knew Scott. He had appeared on one of my podcasts, but I'd forgotten him because it'd just been so long. And a lot of people appeared on my early podcasts. But Scott's a really nice guy and everything. So I reached out to him and I said, what do I need to do to get in? He said, you're in. Don't worry about it. And so he got me in last year. I sucked. It was a super flex league, which means you start 2 quarterbacks.
Yeah.
I had no clue. I just had no clue. I'd never been in one before. So this year I actually made the playoffs, won in the first round, lost this week. So round 2, I went out. That's fine. By this week, my quarterbacks were Derek Carr, and I picked up, who did I pick up? Oh, somebody was on the waiver wire, and there's no quarterbacks left at this point of the year. So it was a guy that had started his first, I think he got me 14 points as a first-time starter this week. I couldn't get Flacco. I tried to get Flacco, couldn't. But you're in the Scott Fish Bowl.
Yes.
How did that happen? Or are you partnered with Don? Or is it just your team?
No, it was my team. Don's been in it 2 or 3 years now. I think maybe 3 years. And I did that whole applying thing, and sent out a few Twitters and I finally got my notification, my invitation.
That's
So
so cool.
Oh, it's super cool. And I was in the Sonic division with Britt Flynn and John Hesterman and got to meet them at the expo. So it was really cool. We all love our Sonic onion rings and cherry
You were
lime.
in the expo last year? Last year.
Last year, yeah. We've been every year, Dawn and I have.
Well, look me up next year and look Carla up
Yes.
next year because I met Carla at the expo this year.
I don't know how we didn't talk to you guys. There were just so many people, but
Nobody knew me.
know.
I was amazed that anybody remembered me. Scott Engel and I went into the Hall of Fame the same class. And so we've known each other for years. Joe Bryant, who runs Football Guys, and I started the FanX League, Fantasy Experts League, way back in the 90s. And so I knew certain people that had been around for a long time would remember, but I didn't think any new people would remember me because it'd been 5 years. That's a long time to take off.
yeah.
I talked to Wendi for 15 minutes during the flag football game. She had no idea who I was. I mean,
Yeah.
I have no problem with that. And I met Carla just as we were just walking by, and I don't know if Doug stopped or who stopped, but she was with Doug and maybe 2 other people. We got a picture together and everything. Next year, look us up. I'll probably be with JC and Iggy because that's who I was with this year.
Well, you're going to do Zumba with us, right?
No,
Definitely.
I'm 67 years old with an artificial knee and another one that probably needs it, but I will gladly go in and cheer you ladies on.
Oh, please
You
do.
will sit on a chair and you will move your arms with us, Greg.
But no, Greg, I knew my husband, Don, he said, Greg is a legend.
Well, give him my contact stuff. You've got my phone number, right?
Stu Jameson.
If not, I'll send it to you. But you got my email for sure, and you've got my Twitter.
I do. Yeah. We do all have to get together, though, at the expo. It always falls on
Definitely.
on my wedding anniversary. So, or near our anniversary. So that's our big anniversary weekend. We go to Canton.
That's amazing.
Ours is end of December.
What is it?
End of December, December 30th.
Happy early anniversary then, Greg.
Thank you.
That's amazing. So, Sally, a little birdie told me that Don, your hubby, is a fantasy football expert, and he's really a serious player. But while you're more outgoing and the fun one, how did this work with you guys being part of Howard Bender's Dirty Laundry League?
Well, we met Howard 2 years ago, or like a year and a half ago at the expo. And I think he just saw that little bit of back and forth there. And he was like, I'd really like for you guys to be in the Dirty Laundry League. So there is a lot of competition. I do not want to get beat by Don. This year, he beat me both times we played. So I just have, he is the expert. He's the one that listens to Sirius XM 24/7. He was actually their most passionate fan of the decade.
Oh,
So,
so he's well acquainted with Wendy's bestie, Bob
oh,
Harris.
yes. Yeah. Yeah. Well, Wendy and I thought we were going to have to duke it out a little bit because I thought Bob Harris was my bestie, but
She gave it up to me when I called him Bobby.
Bobby.
I've known Bob since the 90s, and I lived in Atlanta area, and
Uh-huh.
I would get on the phone with Bob, and I'd be on the phone with him till 3 in the morning. This is when I'm working a full-time
Wow.
job, 50 to
Wow.
60 hours a week, and I'm
Mhm.
working fantasy football 40 hours a week. You want to be a Hall of Famer? That's how you do it. You work.
Yep.
You
That's what
work,
it
you work,
takes.
you work. And Bob Harris, one of my favorite people in the world. He really is. He's a good guy. Him and Emil. Now, I don't know if you know Emil, but Bob and Emil kind of came as a package. Bob was doing diehards and he was writing a lot of the content for Emil's magazines. And Emil Cadlick was producing 3, 4, 5 magazines a year.
Yeah.
So, fantasy football pro forecast, was that might have been the first big magazine he had. So I've actually appeared in them. And instead of getting paid, I'd ask Emil to send me 5 copies so I could send them to my family.
That's awesome.
You're in a magazine. You're from a small town in Michigan. Hey, look at me. I'm in a magazine.
That's a big deal.
It is and it isn't. If you write a lot, you have the opportunity to get into a magazine, especially fantasy football, because everybody's producing them now. But Dan and Kelly Grogan were two big producers of magazines. And,
Mhm.
if Don's writing, have him reach out to me. I'll put him in touch with Amo and the Grogans. And,
Oh, that would be awesome. We'll be in touch for sure
yeah, I
about
mean,
that. That would be
fantasy
great.
football is not a competitive. I mean, you're competing in the games,
Mhm.
but actually, most of the people in fantasy football are very friendly. They
Very
really are.
supportive is what
Yes.
we've learned.
Yep.
And it doesn't matter if you're a newbie or if you're in the Hall of Fame. It's like everyone comes together and it's just a great community.
You should go to the
Mhm.
expo if you've never been. And you're talking about Howard Bender. Howard's been around forever. Howard's a really good guy.
He's awesome.
I was telling everybody,
Amazing.
Wendi, Carla, everybody, if you have somebody you want to meet, go up and talk to them. The worst
Right.
that's going to happen is they're going to say I'm too busy, right? But I don't think you'll find anybody at the expo that does that. They're there
I
to
don't think
talk to
so
the
either.
fans. Um,
He's such an amazing
if
guy.
anybody wants to ask me a question, comments at yahoo.com, send me an email. KOMMENTS at yahoo.com. I'm retired. I got time. I'll answer your questions. Now, be aware, I may not give you the right answer. There's a lot of variables in this, but I'll do the best I can. I'll always give you an honest answer. Anyway, I cut into Carla's time. Sorry, Carla.
You're fine. It's fine. So Wendy was asking, did John sleep on the couch for 2 weeks?
No, he didn't. But if I had won, then things might be a little different. I'm just in this for fun, but I'm telling you, he's in it for blood. It's serious.
Sally, winning is
Listen,
fun. Trust me,
it's
winning
like
is fun.
Winning
it's
is
like
fun.
me and Doug. It's like me and Doug. With you and Don, it's me and Doug. Doug
Yeah.
is the one who wants to win and do his job all the time, and I'm the one for the fun.
Yeah,
So
but
we're both for
guys,
the fun
guys,
ride, Sally.
if you beat
Yeah.
your husbands, you're going to have so much fun.
Oh, I agree with that. I do. I had this huge vision, I was going to win the Scott Fish Bowl. I'll show you. I'm going to win it my first year.
Gina Noble from the Sports Affiliation is probably, I think she was top 25 the first week of playoffs. She was top
Wow,
10.
Is it
And
nice.
this week, I think she was 11th in total scoring. So
That's awesome.
you can do it.
really awesome?
You can do it.
I won my division, and so I thought, and I made it into the playoffs. So I thought, well, that's really good for. I just refused to cry over it, although I did want to cry when I got.
Number 3 overall, Gina was ranked.
Oh wow,
Thank you, JC. That's awesome. That's
number
amazing.
3, yeah, that's awesome.
Become part of the Sports Affiliation. You guys can sign up with us. I mean, there's no charge or anything. And then you can get into these chats with Gina and with a lot of people that will love to talk sports with you.
Oh, that's
Yeah,
awesome. We'll
Evan
do
and
that.
Carla and Wendy's in there all the time.
she is all the time. Yeah.
I just love
She's more
Wendy.
involved than me with the sports.
Mhm.
I'm taking it baby steps. Gina is kicking ass. Yeah, I agree. So Wendy and I were talking about charity last week and how important it is to give back to the community. Now I know that you're not doing well in the charity team for Troy Norris, but can you share why this team is so important to you and why you keep playing it every year? And how did you and Troy Norris meet?
And who is Troy Norris?
And
And
who
who is
is Troy Norris? That's a really good question right there. Well, Troy is a really great guy. We met him at that fantasy football experience 7 years ago. We sat by him and his cousin, and there weren't very many people. That I don't think it was advertised very well through the Hall of Fame, and so there weren't a lot of people there. So it's like, okay, we're friends. We're friends for life now. So Troy made up his own league. It's called the SmackDown Legends League, and it's on the same kind of like the Scott Fish Bowl. We donate to a charity, but this one's really, I guess, more for fun, although I really wanted to win it too. So I'm out of it. I didn't make the playoffs. Dawn, of course, made the playoffs, but that's okay. I kind of held my own. I beat him last or 2 weeks ago. I beat him really bad. So that was like my Super Bowl. I beat him like 299 to 130 something or something. It was just
Just
crazy.
just remind Don that it doesn't matter if Michigan loses 10 games a year. If they win that last one, it's a successful season.
That's the truth. That's the truth. Yeah.
That's
Is Don
awesome.
from Arkansas too, or is he from Ohio?
No, he's from Ohio. When I moved to Ohio, actually his mom fixed us up. His mom called him and said, "I'm going to give you her phone number and you have to call her." And he's like, "Oh, mom." But he did. He called me, and the first
Worked
I
out.
was, yeah, here you go. So I love my mother-in-law. She's awesome.
Oh, that's so cool. That's a
Yeah.
lovely story. I love it. So
Hey,
I saw, oh, go ahead, Greg. Sorry.
yeah, you were talking about Troy Norris, but I saw another name in your bio that goes way back with me, Michael Fabiano. I know him from way back. You're in a league with him.
We are. We actually flew down to Florida a couple weeks ago and had dinner with him and his auntie. It was so much fun. Like we went to visit him in his new home state. But we love Michael, and we're in the Dynasty League. Now, Don and I share a team, so he has made most of the decisions, although there's been a couple things that I've wanted. But we're winning that one right now, which I know how that goes. And it is Dynasty, but it's just fun. It's a lot of fun.
Hey, take credit because you know Don's going to take credit. You
Oh,
take
he'll
credit.
he will for sure.
So you take credit. You say, well, Don, you're not doing so great in Scott Fish. So maybe it's me.
uh,
I'm going to cause strife in their marriage. I'm sorry, Don. I really am.
no, that's another cool story I can share is there was strife in this marriage and we were not getting along. And we had just, it's not that we didn't like each other or anything like that. We still loved each other, but we are just living kind of different lives. I had my interest, he had his interest. And then he wanted to go to Bob Lung's fantasy football experience, and he didn't have anyone to go with him. And I said, well, I want a new Coach purse. So why don't we go shopping for a new Coach purse? And then I'll go spend the weekend at that stupid fantasy football thing you want to go to.
And look at you now.
And I loved it, and I had so much fun, and I went to work the next week, and I said, I feel really bad because I have this new Coach purse, and I would have gone anyway, and I had a lot of fun. So, yeah, Bob Lung may have saved our marriage with that one, and Warren Moon, because we decided that we did need something in common. And he loves fantasy football and I love to write. So, hey, let's have this blog and spend time together and do some fun stuff.
That's
That's
cool.
amazing.
Fantasy football
Yeah.
saved a marriage.
I mean, we think that it did.
Huh?
That's an amazing story. I love it. I saw on your Twitter that a cat with one ear found you. Are you gonna start a new book about that new
How
cat?
does that even happen? Like, how does a
I
cat with one ear show
You
up at
tell me. You
I
tell me.
I don't know. I was backing out of my garage and I look over and there's a cat sitting on our front porch looking at the front door. And then he turns and looks at me and he only has one ear. And I said, no way. You got to
Did
be
you
kidding
adopt
me.
him?
He is feral. He is as wild as they come. So
Well, will he come up to you though?
nope. He
Even if you
runs.
have food?
No, he'll eat the food. We've been putting food out for him, and I've asked a couple of the cat people, and they said put food out, let him get used to coming up for the food, and then they have a trap and release program, or I think that's what it's called, but they would trap him and give him all of his vaccines and neuter him. If he's a him, I'm calling him a him. He could be a
Yeah.
her. I don't know. And somewhere in that process, then, oh, if he ever would just tame down, I would love to bring him into our house. He's
Oh,
really pretty.
I saw
I'm
the
a dog
picture. I
person. I'm
loved
sorry.
it.
I'd
It's
be
so
on Bernie's
sweet.
side against the one eared cat. But you could turn it into a book series. You really could.
Well,
Yes.
About loners. About loners.
right? The next Bernie book is going to be about Bernie's kitty friends. And everyone laughs and said, well, it's actually just pure fiction because Bernie does not like cats.
I
We
like
were
Bernie even better.
We were at a preschool, and I just didn't know that the owner of the preschool had a cat there. And so Bernie and I are sitting in the floor and we're reading to all these little children. And then all of a sudden, this cat just runs across the room and he's immediately just, going to tear after it. But I had a hold of him, thank goodness, or there would have been a dog and cat fight. But our next book is going to be about Bernie's friends, the kitties, and how there's so many of them that need homes. I mean, there really are.
And you could
That's
tie
just
that into
amazing.
the one eared cat too.
Right. He can
Right in
he
that
can have
story, you could do that.
he can have a starring role in that. The one-eared loner cat.
Yeah. Oh my goodness. Creative people. You have left brain, right brain people. I went into the Hall of Fame as a writer, but I didn't go in. Matt Berry went in with me, and I don't know if you know Matthew Berry, but
Yep.
he used to write Seinfeld episodes. I mean, the
I
guy is
didn't
a
know that.
comedic writer. He is a comedic writer. He's funny. He really is. I'm not funny. Now I can get a giggle here or there, but extended laughter, no, that's for the professionals. And I've always told people if you want to get into this hobby as other than a player, as a content creator, there's two ways. You can do what I did, which was logic, study. You study the stats, you look for trends, and you do everything logical. And it's kind of dry writing. But if you're right often enough, people will listen. Or you can be funny. Matt Berry is wrong so much, but he's funny when he's wrong, so people love his stuff. I love Matt. I really do. And I think he's gotten better over the years at fantasy football. But, it's, I can't do humor. So people like you can do humor. You're a professional writer. You can do it. I envy you. I really do. It's like people who could sing. I can sing. You don't want to hear it, but I can do it. I kind of prefer
Me
the
too,
voice.
Greg. Me too. You don't want to hear me sing.
I tell people when I'm singing, I'm making a joyful noise to the Lord with the emphasis on the noise part.
Noise.
That's sweet, Greg. I love it. So,
See, I
are
made
you
you giggle, but I can't sustain it.
You're too cute. You can be a comedian too, Greg. I don't agree
My
with that.
wife
Being a
says not,
comedian.
and I tend to trust her.
Oh, really?
Oh, yeah.
Well, we need to trust the wife. We
I'm
can
going to
say no
try
to
to
that.
get her to the expo next year. She didn't go this
We
year,
would
but she
love
let me
to
go.
meet her. Yeah, we would love to meet her. Definitely. I heard that you wanna get Bernie certified as a therapy dog. When that gonna happen?
Well, that was going to happen back in 2020.
Mm.
Just like the book, Bernie Goes to School, Bernie really did go to school because he did not have very good manners. And I wasn't having a lot of luck trying teaching him at home. So needed we needed professional help in the manners department. So we took a lot of classes and we went to PetSmart, and he had an awesome trainer there, and she trained me. I was the one who was doing things wrong. And so she taught me how to communicate with him and let him know what he needed to do. And we practiced and we worked so hard, and he did so good. And he was going to take his test to be certified, and then COVID hit, and the pandemic shut down everything. And so then when all that was over, I got COVID too at that time and was off work for 6 months. So twice.
Yeah, the first time was bad. Not real bad, but it was like the flu, which can be bad.
Yeah.
Second time, I didn't even know it. I went into the doctors for something else, and they screen you. At least they were then. And they said, "You've got COVID. You've got to go over here. You can't stay here."
Oh,
So I'm
wow.
like, okay. But I didn't have any symptoms. The second time was easy peasy. I mean,
Yeah.
I can't smell anymore, which is,
Still.
I'm an old guy. So I'm kind of, and I like bean burritos. So you can imagine, I'm living the life. I can't smell any of it. Now, my
Your
wife,
poor wife.
my wife, on the other hand, yeah, yeah.
Oh, I feel bad for her.
Yeah, well, she's stuck for 46 years. So actually 50, because we dated for about 4 years before we got married.
See, that's so awesome. I love your story. That's great.
Oh, get this. She gets mad when I tell this. Our first date was to a movie. I took her to Wasso, Michigan to a movie. And I went up and I said, one adult and one child. She was 14. I was 17. I was a senior. She was a freshman. She hates the fact that I got her in on a child ticket, but she was 14 and I'm a kid that doesn't have a lot of money.
Yeah, it saved you a couple bucks, huh?
Yeah. Yeah. Well, maybe $1.50. Back then, movies weren't as expensive as they are now.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
We had a drive-in. Have you guys ever been to? You're kind of young. Have you ever been to a drive-in?
I'm old
No.
enough that I've been to a drive-in.
Those were the places you went to make
Yeah.
out. I mean, let's be honest. You're
We
sitting
still
in the
have
car.
one. It's about 20 minutes from our house, but there's
Yeah.
still a drive-in movie. Yeah.
Well,
Nice.
you've got grandkids, so you've got kids. Did you take your kids to the drive-in?
No, they haven't been yet, but
Oh, take them.
we'll have to do that this next summer.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's fun.
That would be cool.
I don't, Carla, do you know what a drive-in is?
I know what a drive-in is, but I never like I didn't live here my
Yeah.
childhood, so we didn't have it in my country. So, but I would love maybe
Yeah,
that
but
would
you had
take me one
movie
day. I don't
theaters,
know.
right? You
Yes, we
guys have
did.
movie theaters.
Yes, we do.
I mean,
But we didn't have drive-ins.
I've been to Thailand and gone to movies in Thailand where it's in English with Thai subtitles. I've been to the Netherlands, been to movies. I've been, oh, 34 countries I've been to.
Have you
Oh, we
really?
have everything in Lebanon, but we don't have drive-in. Susan is saying that we have two in Connecticut, so I'm gonna poke Doug to take me to a drive-in in Connecticut. We will see.
Oh, okay.
We'll
Just
have to go.
if Doug is like I think Doug is, don't expect to see the movie.
Good luck.
Just saying.
Good luck with him working every single hour. Good luck.
Yeah,
It'll be
yeah.
like
Driving
Wendy having dinner, right?
He's driving
Well,
me
you get the popcorn
insane.
at the drive-in with the big. My mom and dad used to, when you went grocery shopping in the old days, you didn't get plastic bags. You got paper bags,
Right.
great big paper bags of groceries. My mom and dad would save those because you could use them for trash and reuse them, but they would also use them for when we as a family went to the drive-in theater, mom, dad, and the kids. And they would pop up popcorn and pour butter in it, shake it up, and you'd get the
Oh,
spots all over the bag from the butter. But and they'd make Kool-Aid because they couldn't afford sodas. Because my dad was an auditor for the state highway department. My mom was an educator with a master's degree. They, elementary teacher. So they weren't rich by any means, and they had four kids, and that was our family night out. As we would go to a Friday night drive-in with a kids show, something that was acceptable for all of us. Because back then, a lot of the movies were G-rated. I mean, I
Right.
saw True Grit with my parents. Now, if you don't know what True Grit is, Google it because
I know what True Grit is.
it's a great
Carla, you'll
Western
have to
movie.
Google that.
Yeah, you do. It's a great Western movie. It really
Mhm.
is. I think Glenn Campbell was in it too. John Wayne was. I think Glenn Campbell was in it. He was the Texan.
And I'll have to watch that.
Yeah. I'm sorry, I took this interview way off track.
no,
Um,
you're doing great, Greg. I love it. I love hearing your stories, both of you. That's amazing.
Carla
Um,
came up with a bunch of questions, and she's got one that I'm really interested in, so I'm going to steal it.
no,
It
go
is,
ahead.
what is the biggest risk you've taken in your career, and did it pay off? If so, how?
I really like that question. That's a good one, Carla.
I
So,
like it too. Yeah.
yeah. I would say maybe the biggest risk I've taken is a couple years ago. I quit my job in neurosurgery, Monday through Friday, a real job with benefits. And I quit that. And now I have two part-time jobs. I needed flexibility. I needed to be able to take a day off here or there. Not only my parents live in Arkansas, so I want to be able to go see them and visit them and help them when they need it. But I would have burning events and need to take off. And it was like I was using all of my PTO from that job to do Bernie events and the things, other things. So that was a pretty big risk. That's
It is.
it's not like it was a real.
Did it pay off for you?
I would say it's paying off. I am so much happier, and I love what I'm doing. I have worked two part-time jobs now that both allow flexibility, and so
That's
it's
important.
it's I'm at an age now where time is money. I need that
Time
time.
is more than money.
It
When
is.
you
You're
get to
right.
my age, you
Yeah.
understand. Money
It's
can't buy you
priceless.
happiness. What money does is it eliminates a lot of the causes of unhappiness, but it can't buy you
Yes.
happiness. The time, the quality time you spend with the people you love is way more important than the money you get. Now, I will say this, one of the happiest days of my life was when we became debt free. That means I paid off the mortgage on my house
Mhm.
and I had paid off the car because every weight that is on a man's shoulders when he's the provider was lifted instantly. And it just made it light. Now, happiest day when my wife said yes.
Yeah.
Next to that, when my three
Awesome.
children were born. Okay. My oldest getting married was okay, but it really doesn't come close to when she was born. Um, Getting debt free was one of the happiest days of my life, and I highly recommend it for everybody. Sacrifice in your 20s and 30s so that in your 40s and 50s you don't have to.
Right. I agree with that.
I agree. Happiness is really important, and you cannot buy it with any money. You cannot buy it with any money. Good for you, Sally. If you could have a conversation with your younger self, what advice would you give them?
I would tell myself to stop worrying. Did either one of you just like worry constantly when you were younger? I just worried about this and worried about that. And
I still do.
I don't. I've never been stressful. If I can change a situation, I change it. If I can't change it, why worry about it? You can't do
I
anything
can't
about
turn
it.
it off. I
Yeah,
can't turn it off.
I've always been built that way, and it's why I don't get ulcers. I just don't stress about things I can't control. What I do is I try to make decisions that allow me to control the things that I don't like in my life.
You're
that's
so much like Doug, and he is teaching me to be like that. Sorry, Sally. Go
No,
ahead.
Doug's a good man. He really is.
He is. He is. I agree.
that's
And
really
why? Yeah. Go ahead, Sally. Why would you? Why you would you were saying something about
I
Stress.
that?
I just feel like, in the younger years, maybe instead of enjoying everything and being present in the moment, just
Yeah.
constantly, thinking, maybe worrying's not the right word, but constantly thinking about what's going to happen next and running different scenarios and, what if that goes wrong and what if this goes wrong? And really at the end of the day, everything's going to work out how it's going to work out. No amount of worrying is going to change any of that.
Well, I think
So,
that's ingrained into girls at a very early age because boys don't get pregnant, so we don't worry about that. Girls get pregnant. Is it going to change my life if I get pregnant? There's pressure on you for sex and things like that. And I think it's societal. I really do. I think girls generally have more stress than boys do. Boys
I
play.
agree.
Boys play. We have games. I mean, that's what we. I think the best thing I ever did was had girls that liked sports. They were kind of tomboy type girls. They liked
Yes.
sports, and I think they liked it because they saw me participate. When I was younger, I played basketball. I played softball. Yeah, I was in the army, so you had the opportunity to do a lot of sports, and the girls always went with us. So they never were the cheerleader. Well, my middle one's kind of the cheerleader type, but the oldest and the youngest were more the participant types.
Yeah.
So I I think they live with less stress than a lot of girls do, and I think sports really helps. I really do. That's why I love seeing women in fantasy football because it's not participating in the actual physical aspect of the sport, but the mental aspect is there. You stress about your lineups and things like that. I don't. I put in the people I think are going to play, and I'm wrong sometimes, and I'm right sometimes. I just hope I'm right more than I'm wrong. I told Carla this. What's the difference between an expert and a fantasy football expert? I mean, a Hall of Famer and a fantasy football expert.
what's the difference?
Zero.
Oh, there you go.
Accolades. Accolades. Because even the best people in fantasy football, and this is guys like Bob Harris and Scott Ingle, guys I respect tremendously, they're going to be wrong 40% of the time. If you ever track people who project things in fantasy football, they're going to be wrong 40% of the time because there's just too many variables. And players, even your best players, your Christian McCaffrey. 4 games last year, he shouldn't have been started. Okay? Justin Jefferson, 5 games last year, he shouldn't have been started. The question is, how do you identify those games? And that's where your experts and your serious fantasy people try to make a living, trying to identify the games where they can start or they shouldn't start. Yeah, anybody ever tells you always start your studs, don't listen to them because they have no idea what they're talking about.
Right.
Nobody should always be started. The problem is you don't know when they're going to have the bad games. And that's why I say the best of us are wrong 40% of the time. And this is a Hall of Famer telling you that.
Wow.
That's amazing.
You make me feel a little better about getting knocked out of the Scott Fish Bowl.
Scott Fish Bowl has what, 2,700 teams, something like that?
There were a lot.
The fact that you made the playoffs is quite an achievement.
Awesome.
I'm amazed that I made the playoffs because I started the season with Daniel Johnson and Derek Carr as my quarterbacks. And I had Tyrod Taylor, but he went out about the same time Johnson did. So I was trying to get by with guys I picked up off. I got Bajent from Chicago for a while. Then Fields came back. You just never know. Injuries take the best players. Look at this last weekend. How many players left the game early?
It's just terrible.
You can't predict it, though. There's no way to predict it. So don't stress over lineup decisions. Make your best call and live with it. If you win, you win. If you don't, oh well. As long as you beat your husband once, you had a good year. It's Michigan, Ohio State.
That's what's important.
You get that one win, you had a good year.
Yeah. When I met Mike Clay at the
he's a good guy too.
He's awesome. I said, you've just got to tell me, give me some advice, because I just have to beat my husband. That's all this is about, is I have to beat him.
That's amazing.
So did Mike break the boy code and give you advice?
No, I think he just laughed at me.
Okay, cool. Good job, Mike. Good job. Did you meet Gary Davenport while you were there?
I don't think so.
He's another one you got to meet. Really good guy. He's IDP, mainly IDP. He was in the King's Classic IDP draft.
Oh, yeah, maybe we did talk to him.
Okay, well, he was in the same room for his draft that the ladies were for their draft, the Queen's Classic draft.
Oh, yeah.
So I went in and I took pictures of everybody, a couple videos and stuff. But Gary and I, when I first did a podcast, it was with Bob Harris. And it was weird because nowadays you just get people on and you talk, right? Back then, Bob would he would record interviews that professional reporters had with players and coaches. And then he would cut out the reporter asking the question, and he would provide me with the text, and I would ask the question that the reporter asked, and he would ask the question that the reporter asked, and it looked like he and I were interviewing. That was our podcast. That was our original podcast. Now, nowadays, that would probably get us a copyright infraction or something. But that's the way we did it. And then when I did my own podcast, Gary Davenport was my co-host, my first co-host. So,
wow.
Yeah, it goes back to we go back. I started playing in 86. I was working in the National Security Agency in Fort Meade, Maryland. And some guy says, "You want to try this game?" I said, "Sure, why not?" I've been hooked ever since.
That's just incredible. That's really awesome.
That's
See,
old.
You're a legend.
That's old. That's what that is. You know how you get to know the stars of fantasy football? You stick around long enough. That's it. If you're around long enough, you'll get to know them because they're friendly and they're approachable. You go to the expo, you go talk to people.
Absolutely.
You've talked to Bob, right?
Yeah, we've talked to Bob, and we actually pick him up at the airport every year for the expo, and then we kind of give him rides around wherever he needs to go. Now, this last year at the expo, I wasn't doing very good on my navigating skills, and we dropped him off at the wrong hotel. Like, who would know there would be 2 of the same hotel in Canton because
Yeah.
Canton's not that big.
No,
So
it's not. Yeah.
we're about 2 minutes down the road, and Bob calls, and he was like, "Hey, you need to come back because you left me at the wrong hotel." And I'm like, "Dawn, make a U-turn, hurry."
JC and Iggy picked up Scott Engel.
Oh,
Did you
really?
meet Scott?
I think we have met him too. Yeah.
I saw Scott when JC brought him to the expo, that front entrance where you check in and everything.
Right.
Scott Engel shouts out, "Hey, everybody, this is Greg Kellogg, the OG of this stuff." And I'm like, oh, God. I'm so embarrassed because I know these people don't have any idea who I am. Scott's been doing it continuously. When I first met Scott, he was with CBS Sports Line.
Oh,
So
wow.
Scott's been around forever, and they're just good people. I'm telling you, when you go to the expo, find any of the older people that have been doing this for a while, anybody that's running a panel. Dr. Morse, I'm friends with Dr. Morse now on Twitter, and whenever there's an injury that I'm not sure about, I shoot him a DM, and he always answers it. He was with the Fantasy Doctors panel.
Oh,
Okay.
yeah. Yeah.
I didn't know him before the expo. I never have met him person to person, but he always answers my question. And
Isn't that just incredible? Like, what other industry could you say that about?
you can't. That's
I
just it.
don't think
It's
so
wonderful.
either. I think it's
That's why I say it's not a competition among the people making money. I mean, everybody wants to make their money, don't get me wrong,
right.
but they will help you. Every one of them will help you. And if they won't, then they're not the type of person you want to deal with anyway.
I haven't met any of those.
Well, you find me next year and I'll make sure that you meet those guys.
You bet.
One more question for you, Sally, before we end up with our episode. How do you approach innovation and thinking outside the box in your work? And what are some examples of your most creative ideas?
Oh gosh, Carla, that's a hard one, isn't it? I, I do think I tend to think outside of the box. I try to be creative and not just go along with everything that everyone else is doing. Now, the innovation part, as far as with the Bernie productions go, with technology, I need to step up a little bit and get my game going on that. We have a lot of ideas we want to do with Bernie that's other than books. And I do,
Animation.
yes. And oh, can you even imagine? I can just see it, and I think it would be so awesome.
I was thinking that that's what you should do, to be honest.
Wouldn't
And I
that be
think
great?
there's an animator.
Be awesome.
I think there's an animator that works with JC and Iggy, but I'm not positive about that. I could be thinking of someone else, but my mind's not as sharp as it used to be.
Well, I've got these little grandkids and they're watching shows, on YouTube and PBS and I'm thinking, "Oh man, we need the Bernie show because these kids could be learning so much."
You need a lot more than 6 episodes.
I know.
And as teachers right now, we all want something visual. So something visual is really
Right.
important for our children. So
I
that would be
can't
really awesome.
I can't let you close on that question because you had another one that I thought was excellent.
Go ahead,
With
Greg.
today, people ask pro athletes all the time, "Do you want your kids playing football because of the injury risk and things?" Carla came up with, as a mom, would you want your kid to be in the fantasy football industry, or do you prefer it that they are part of the educational industry? Why and why not? I personally think the fantasy football industry can be used in the educational industry because I've seen math teachers incorporate fantasy football into their math programs.
I
But
agree.
what do you think, Sally?
I think you're right about that. And actually, I did think about that question a lot. And either one. I mean, I have 4 kids of my own, and then I have Dawn's son. I call him my bonus son. And all of them, I just encouraged them to do what they wanted to do, but just to be nice. Let's just be
Yes.
nice. But I would think that there might be some industries that I would hope that they wouldn't go into. But with the fantasy football industry, like we were talking about, the community is just so open arms. Let's come in. I'm going to teach you. I'll help you. Let's get going. I'll help you learn. So I think that's really great. The other side of that, the education, we need educators. We need educators who care about these kids and care about what they're doing. And I mean, there's a lot of them out there. I work with them, but
We need
so
good
I would encourage.
educators.
Pardon?
We need good educators.
We
In
do.
my life, I've had good and bad teachers, and
Yes.
I've seen a lot of stories about teachers doing indoctrination right now that I think is a real problem. Um, but yes, I agree. My mom was a teacher, so I'll never speak badly about teachers, but I want them teaching what they're paid to teach, not some ideology,
Yeah,
conservative or liberal. I don't want, if you're going to teach politics, teach it in government class. Don't
right.
teach it in English for kids.
No,
Yeah, I
I
work with
agree with
teachers who
you
just they give
100%.
the teachers just give their heart and soul, and um it's so encouraging to see those kind of people.
And their pocketbook. They pay a lot of money
They
for
do.
things
Yeah,
that are used in the classroom that should be reimbursed by the school system,
you're
in my
right.
opinion.
Absolutely.
So yeah,
We
I
do
think
a lot
teachers are
for
very
our kids
dedicated.
because they become our children, Greg.
Yeah, I
I'm a teacher,
understand.
and what we do in the classroom sometimes, it's just they become our kids,
Well,
and
yeah,
you
but
see
they're
it,
not.
Sally. They become our
Yeah, but
kids.
they're not. They're
Right, they
still the
are.
parents' kids. So
Yeah,
my problem is
but
with teachers hiding things from the parents. I do not like that because I was my parent. I was my kid's dad, and if my kid has an issue, I want to know about it so I can address it.
no,
And
of
if you're
course I
hiding it
share it
from
with
them,
their parents. I do share
yes,
with
as
our
long as
with
you
their
share
parents.
it with the parents,
No,
I
I
think
don't hide
teachers
it from
should be
their
a
parents.
shoulder to cry on. I think they should be a
Definitely,
counselor that offers wisdom because they're older
I
than the
agree.
kids. Um, but I don't think they should be indoctrinating kids
No,
into any ideology at all.
there's always a thin line between being that teacher that's a friend and being that teacher that you can rely on. I
Yes.
cannot be that friend you
Yeah,
can
Right.
sometimes
rely
you have to tell
on.
them no.
Yeah, you
As a
have to.
parent, you
Yeah,
learn that. Sometimes you have to tell your
yes.
kids no.
And yes, you have to. You have to. And I am with you on that. No, I cannot let them tell me stuff that they cannot tell their parents. No, I don't agree with that. I have 3 kids of my own, so I
I
cannot agree with that.
I will
Definitely.
say that if there's signs of abuse by the parent, that's a
Yes.
different situation.
We
And in
are
that, I
we
think you
have to
get the
talk about
authorities
it.
involved. Yeah.
Yes. We have to report that.
Yes. And I think that's
Yes.
good because
Yes, we
not
have
all
to.
parents are good parents. I understand that.
Yes. Yeah,
Sally, do
I
you
agree.
love teaching?
I love it. I'm a sub and I absolutely love it. I love the kids and I look forward to my days of subbing. Now, would I love
What are
it if
your classes that you teach?
it's usually preschool special ed.
Oh,
and
okay.
and I love them, and I just think if I can go in and just be a blessing to them, and at the end of the day I'm the one that receives the blessing. They're just so sweet and so cute, and
That's
You've
I
got to give to
amazing.
get.
That's
You've got
amazing
to
to see.
give to get. I mean, bottom line, you know, again, I'm going back to my Christian roots. Push down, shaken together, return 3 times. So I
yes.
really believe when you give, when you have a giving, I tell people every day make one person smile. Compliment them,
Yes.
tell a joke. Doesn't matter. Just make one person smile. Within 3 months, you will be a changed human being.
Oh, that's
Mhm.
awesome. I really agree with that.
I really don't want to end the show, but we have to. So thank you, viewers. Thank you for being loyal to the show and spending this hour with us. Sally and Greg, you are both game changers.
buy
Want to say
Sally's
something?
books. Go support Sally.
Yes, I will. I will get into that.
And
Thank
if
you,
you
Greg, for
know if you know an
always.
animator, contact me or Sally directly,
Please.
and let's help her go to the next level.
That's awesome,
Definitely.
Greg. Thank you so much.
And one final thing, go blue.
You're not going to let that go, are you?
Oh, never. Never.
We're gonna sing Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer right now, Sally. Thank you, Greg, for always stepping in when needed. And Sally, you told me in your email that all our guests are interesting. I can tell you, my friend, that what a great journey you shared with us tonight. What an interesting and beautiful person you are. Thank you. Can you please remind everyone how they can get your books, your Twitter handle, any social media accounts you have, and so they can reach out through them. How can they can
Absolutely.
reach out?
My Twitter handle is Sally3510. And Bernie has his own account. It's Bernie, the One-Eyed Puppy, on Facebook and Instagram. We also have a website that's BernieTheOneEyedPuppy.com. The books are all available on Amazon. Other websites have them, like Walmart has them, and Barnes and Noble. I just usually have better luck, it seems like, with them arriving promptly from Amazon, but the online distributor of your choice, or direct message me. I'll be glad to autograph them and get Shauna to autograph them too. That works. Thank
That
you.
would be awesome. I can't wait to see you in one of our schools as well. So we will wait on that. We will talk definitely. Thank you again to the sports affiliation and our man behind the scene, JC, for making sure that the show is running as smoothly as it can. Join us next Tuesday, December 12th at 9:30 p.m. Eastern Time with our guest, Cindy Kuberg. You don't want to miss this episode. Good night, everyone. Stay healthy, and we can't wait to see you next week for the new episode. Thank you. Have a good night.
Bye.
Bye.